welcome back to Chai Chat with Lavina, where we are talking to Dr. Aseem Malhotra, who has written a book with Donald O'Neill's. Sorry, I just snatched it from you. It's the Pioppi Diet. The Pioppi is apparently the best diet, he thinks, which is one of the villages in Italy, so part of Mediterranean, which we know. So now I'm going to move to very quickly, because we have less time, on blood pressure.
Sure.
Or you can just choose diabetes, heart rate.
Sure, blood pressure is the biggest risk factor for death worldwide. In fact, it's actually driven, it's a big problem. A lot of people have it. I think the thing about blood pressure is obviously people take pills for blood pressure, and you should talk to your doctor about that, and obviously that's an issue. But what we find, and what I'm finding with my patients, is when they do this dietary plan, in terms of keeping mindful movement, eating non-processed foods, eating healthy foods, a lot of people are able to get their blood pressure within normal range, and some of them are able to come off their blood pressure pills.
So we're going to do 5 things that you need to do to control your blood pressure, to stop it as a precaution, and for people who are in it as well and taking pills. So 5 things.
Well, I think the same thing, diet. Avoid the sugars and the processed carbohydrates. They will raise blood pressure, okay? Keep walking. Walking is very good. That will also help blood pressure, for example, as well. I think those are the most important things, to be honest.
Anything extra for blood pressure?
Other things that are important are getting a good sleep. So making sure you're getting 7 hours sleep a night. I mean, all the things that build into stress can also affect blood pressure as well. But the most important factors are this: lots of salt, like very high salt intakes. For most people, salt is not too much of an issue, but people should be a little bit wary of salt. And that's really what I would say for blood pressure, to be honest.
Any myths that have been defunct for blood pressure?
No, I don't think so. I think people should, take it seriously, make sure it's well controlled. Often that needs pills, but the doctor will be the best person to advise what pills would work. But lifestyle changes can avoid you getting high blood pressure and even help treat blood pressure as well.
Can you go off blood pressure pill? Because they say that once you start, you can't go off.
No,
but with this...
True. I've seen patients who've come off blood pressure pills because they've changed their lifestyle, so absolutely not.
That can happen. So that's one myth, I think, that I thought, that you can't ever come off blood pressure pill. Diabetes.
I mean, type 2 diabetes is a big problem. We know that, especially in the Asian community, we are vulnerable to it. Now, it runs in families, but it's still preventable largely and avoidable, okay? And also reversible, okay? And again, it's about cutting, come back to this, sugar and the refined carbs, the bread, the pasta, the rice, the potatoes. People who are adopting a diet when they cut that out, who have type 2, a lot of them are coming off their medications. Some of them are even getting back to normal blood glucose levels. And in fact, they don't have type 2 diabetes, which is extraordinary. So this is definitely the way to do it, and it's through those foods that people eat. And again, I think exercise, simple thing again, Lavina, it's just walking 30 minutes every day. You don't have to be exercising very rigorously, but doing that, 30 minutes, 4 or 5 times a week.
30 minutes and how long? When you say brisk, it's very subjective.
Yeah, so what we do is enough to kind of make you a little bit out of breath, essentially.
A little bit out of breath.
Yeah.
Okay, so 30.
You can have a conversation, but you'll find difficulty singing.
Okay, that's a good parameter then. Okay, now next is heart disease, isn't it?
Yeah, so heart disease...
Any myth to defunct?
Well, okay, don't fear fat. Saturated fat from butter and ghee and all the stuff that people think, eggs, cholesterol in eggs, does not clog the heart arteries. So that's number one.
I have to ask you, I just remembered, white of the egg better than the yolk? Do you think...
No. Have the whole egg. Some of the most nutritious part of the egg is in the yolk. One thing, another myth is cholesterol in food does not raise blood cholesterol.
Okay, so cholesterol in the yolk of the egg will not...
No, and the yolk is one of the best parts of the egg, most nutritious parts of the egg. So I always advise people to have the yolk. And I actually have probably at least 10 eggs a week, okay? And I advise my heart patients the same. I know you don't eat eggs, but people who do, it's not a problem, okay? So don't fear fat. Sugar is really the public enemy number 1 when it comes to heart disease. The biggest risk factor for heart attacks is insulin resistance, which is in some ways a precursor to type 2 diabetes. And again, that can be combated by the diet, exercise, combating stress, and this is things that we talk about, like meditation and yoga and that kind of stuff, even people with established heart disease. And that actually is very powerful. I mean, as I said, it's more powerful than any drug if you do all these things together in terms of prevention and treatment of heart disease.
So fat, but the right kind of fat.
Yeah, so extra virgin oil was best, and then other things are not a problem. So full fat dairy is fine. Cheese and yogurt, no problem. Butter is no problem. That is people fear that, and they think it's going to clog the arteries and cause heart disease. It doesn't. We've disproved that theory now.
Okay, quickly, the value of sleep.
Well, I think it's very important, and we advise and we try to, and I don't always get this, and I'm doing my best to improve that. Try and get at least 7 hours sleep a night.
For everybody.
For everybody. Poor sleep is linked to all these other conditions: high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and it's also linked to stress. So it's a kind of vicious cycle. Get the sleep sorted, the stress gets better. Get the stress sorted, the sleep gets better.
But does it have to be in the night a certain time, or some people don't work the night shifts? So is it okay 7 hours in the day?
No, absolutely. Try and get your 7 hours at some point, absolutely,
Oh, so
overall.
that's fine.
And even if you can, if you have time, even an afternoon siesta for some people who may work from home or have time, traditionally, like we did in Indian culture, people would have their little nap in the afternoon. That's actually probably quite beneficial for you.
Thank you so very much. And in 21 days, what does this do?
Well,
What difference did it bring?
It makes people feel healthier, it improves markers in the blood, such as cholesterol profile. It can start to bring your HbA1c down if you're type 2 diabetic. It does all of these things, but people will also lose weight, but they need to do it to see how they feel, and then they'll know after 2 or 3 weeks, and they'll think, wow, I feel different. And this is the feedback I get from so many people. There's a lot of data on this, but even from my own patients.
Brilliant, thank you. Let
Lovely.
me have now take the permission to take it from you.
Okay.
Thank you so very much,
Thank
Dr.
you,
Aseem
Lavina.
Malhotra. The Pioppi Diet. This is the new book by Dr. Aseem Malhotra and Donald O'Neill. But apart from that, he gave us such beautiful lifestyle advice for everybody. Sugar is the basic killer, I think.
Public enemy number one.
Public enemy number one, sugar. So when I meet you next, I hope you'll see some difference. So thank you very much. How did you like this show? Please Twitter me at Lavina Tandon or write to me on chai-chat@aajtak.com. Take care, no sugar, and stay blessed. Then you can stay blessed. Bye.
Brought to you by Bank of Baroda, India's international bank. Air India, a Star Alliance partner. Himalaya Tentex Royal, for men's power and health. Yepingo, call more, pay less.